Tuesday for us here at Marriedpreneur Life. And I was about to say marriedpreneurlife.com, but it's Marriedpreneur Life. And for those of you who may be new around these parts, we're so glad you are here. And
welcome. What's up, everybody? I'm Will Buckley.
And I am Sway Buckley. We are Marriedpreneur strategists and co-founders of the Marriedpreneur operating systems. So here's the thing for today. It's going to be so good, y'all. Just stay tuned. We got some little, I don't know, what do you call these? Like props to show and share.
Visual aids.
Hey. So we're live here on a couple of different platforms. We have YouTube, Facebook, IG. So if you can share, press share for their platform, and you're going to be glad you did. You do want to have a pen and paper today. For real. You do want to have a pen and paper. Or what you can do is use the little, you can use the comment section to like put the notes in so you can come back. For those of you on other platforms, I know IG doesn't let you show that. But okay, so real quick. Now, what we're doing here for our legacy lesson, we come in each Tuesday to share some really powerful, valuable content and strategies for other married entrepreneurs. To give you a little background, just so you know, you do not have to be, it doesn't have to look like be cookie cut. So you can be, sorry, marriedpreneur types. There are indiepreneurs, spousalpreneur, couplepreneurs, and you can be a combination of those. If you don't know what those are, real quick, we'll share that with you. Indiepreneurs are those married entrepreneur couples where both spouses are building individual businesses. Right. And then you have the spousalpreneurs, and that's where one spouse is really building the business. And then the other spouse is supporting that spouse who's building the business.
And then you have the couplepreneurs. That's where both of you are building the same business together.
You need help?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So, or you can be like a combination of those two. Right. So for us, for example, we are absolutely combination. We've actually been at each of those stages. So my background, my entrepreneurial background is I founded a creative art, the largest creative art staffing firm. On my dorm room floor at the age of 19, and that financed my way through college. And then I went on to build out other businesses from there.
And I own a real estate consulting firm, but I also co-own a real estate company in North Texas.
Yes. So what we do now is bringing what we do together with your Marriedpreneur life. Now, the thing about, married entrepreneurs, there's no cookie cut way to do it. We believe that God has very unique gifts for each individual spouse, and then bringing them together is a beautiful thing. So ultimately, our goal here at Marriedpreneur Life is to equip other faith-based married entrepreneurs with tools to live purposefully, powerfully, and profitably in sync. With that being said, let's get to this nitty-gritty. Okay, so communication is a huge thing, regardless if you're in business or not, and even the more if you are in business, whether you're in business together or, supporting the other spouse, or you desire to be in business and building out a legacy. So a business legacy. So what we recently did is we attended a marriage conference. I tell you, powerful. It was powerful. It was
very
powerful. Transformative. So we've been working on being better communicators for each other in our marriage first, and then ultimately then with the business as well too. So it just so happens, and I know it wasn't a coincidence because there are no coincidences in God. It just so happens though that this conference that we went to, we had no idea that this was the situation. The keynote speaker as a pastor, I think in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Pennsylvania. And he also is the author of a book on, guess what? Communication. So we got some books, and we'll share these details with you as well too. But we really want to share what's in the book, which is the outline of communication. I've never heard communication being taught like this in this way. And so we want to share this with you. Like I said, take notes or put it in the comment section so you all could see it, come back to it, and all that great stuff. Is there anything else?
Nope. Let's get into it.
Okay, so he gave us these great handouts. So the name of the book, the speaker was Pastor Timothy Shorey. I'll say that. Did I say right?
Yeah.
And the name of the book is
Respect the Image.
It's probably backwards on your deal. But we're going to kind of go through this quickly so you can have it and then start implementing it and watch it transform how you all communicate with each other. So he gave 11 steps, hopefully I counted them all right, that really produce powerful communication for anybody, but especially for married couples and even the more for married entrepreneurs. Okay, so he spelled out the word communicate.
So communicate he used as an acrostic, so we can take each letter of the word communicate, and then each letter has its own word and meaning. And so we're going to go through this acronym of the word communicate and share with you all what we took away, what was taught and given to us. And confidently, this is going to help you all as you think, meditate, and apply these words and meanings. So,
can I say something real fast? I'm sorry. Okay, so my girlfriend Jasmine is on. I think she's still on. Hey, Jazz. So we were talking in the car yesterday, and I didn't have my notes in front of me, and I was trying to tell her all the different words or that go with throughout the word for communicate. And so Jazz, I'm glad you're here, because I was going to tag you and tell you, girl, listen, because I got the notes now. I didn't have it in my head just yet, but it's here right now on paper, and now you can have it too. That's it. I just wanted to do that little.
Okay. So the word C in communicate. C stands for chill.
Or calm down first.
Or calm down. Well, it says there chill, but chill meaning to calm down. So it's so good because each one of these has with it scriptures that they're derived from. And I think the James 3 is one. The James 3:17 one is so amazing. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, for the anger of man doesn't produce the righteousness of God. Yeah. C, chill. Then.
And there's an order to it.
Yes.
This is an order.
Yeah, just follow the word communicate. So C is for chill or calm down. O is for open up.
Being vulnerable. Because it's easy to shut down when you may be disagreeing with each other, and you may just be like, forget it, just forget it, right? That's not opening up. Or there may be another tactic or default that you've used in the past that is just the same. It brings the same result. So you don't want to be closed. You have to force yourself to open up and be vulnerable with that.
Yes.
Oh, I wrote a note in here too. When your spouse offends you, open up and share. Share. Don't just shut down and say, I'm offended to yourself, but actually let your spouse know that offended me.
So good.
So good.
Now,
James 5:16. With a lot of other scriptures on here too.
M, the first M in the word communicate. This M represents make time.
This is one that I forgot yesterday.
Yeah, so make time. Amos 3:3, how can two walk except they agree? To come into agreement, you have to make time. One of the things he said that was so powerful is schedule time for the priority relationships in your life. A lot of times we think marriage will be, this is what I thought of, marriage will be a priority simply because it's marriage. When marriage has to be made a priority because it's marriage.
Yeah. So Amos 3:3, then how can two walk together unless they agree? It actually applies in that too. So making time to actually communicate versus holding it in.
The second M in the word communicate, this is mean what you say.
Oh, this was so good.
Which does not give us the license to say anything mean.
That's true.
So that's what
you took away from it?
Yeah.
I took away, well, that's good too. I didn't think about that because I know of course that. I would also say too is something that is easy to get confused about is when you don't speak what you truly mean versus, so some other toxic, I guess on the opposite end of the spectrum would be saying or doing things that are passive aggressive. So you're not actually saying what you mean. Instead, you're you're not even trying to give hints, but it's kind of jabs, jabs. That's not saying what you mean. Or if you just beat around the bush, all the way around it and try to drop hints, and then you're still not saying what you mean. So then your spouse is left trying to figure out, or if they even know that there's an issue, it could be so foggy that they don't even realize what's bothering you or that anything is bothering you until it just all hits the fan, right? So say what you mean and say it, don't hold it back.
Yeah, and sometimes what we will need is time to figure out what do we mean so we can choose the words that are both straight and true. So we want to make our words accurate. In order to make our words accurate, sometimes the heat of the moment loses the accuracy because there's more emotion than there is reason. And so we have to sometimes get in touch with what is it I'm actually trying to say in order to say it with meaning.
He gave an example too. Now I've heard this one before. Never use the words never and always as absolutes, right? So you don't want to do that, because it's not like you always do this or you never do that. Those are just not ever true. Like I just use it, but just so be very mindful of that. But you may feel that way, but really think about, is this true? So I've heard that before, and that's really, really good. Something that I haven't heard before, which it is so powerful. He said, so another way that people can be not straightforward with their spouse in communicating is saying, I'm sorry, or somebody saying, you say, I'm sorry. And I say, that's okay. But it's really not okay. It's really not okay.
Or we're really not sorry because we really don't know what we're sorry about. We're just using it as a means to try and get over the issue rather than address the issue.
Oh, so good on both sides. Saying I'm sorry just to kind of bring some peace, but it's not real peace, it's fake peace, and that never lasts. And then on the other end of the spectrum, or the other response, saying like that's okay when it really isn't okay. Like, well, actually that really hurt me, or this is how I'm feeling, and and just really talk through that. He did give an example for that. He said instead of doing that, to say I was sorry or I am sorry because, and like say the reason. So that means that both parties understand that you understand why you're sorry, and then that person can say, okay, they get it, versus just saying, am I sorry? And then the second part of that apology is you don't leave it like I'm sorry for doing this because da 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 da. You finish it with, would you forgive me? You ask for their forgiveness, and then that person then comes back and is able to, yes, absolutely forgive, although there still could be hurt there, or whatever those emotions would be. But being able to, it just really helps when the person who has hurt you understands that they hurt you and really shares their heart and true like asking for forgiveness, versus just trying to brush it off. And then and so when you forgive, though, he did say, make sure that when you say I forgive you, that you don't bring that up again. It's the same way that God forgives us. Once we ask for forgiveness, it's thrown, like with true repentance. We don't do it again on purpose.
When God forgives, he truly never brings it up again.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. And so just that maturing through that. Now we're talking about a healthy marriage and relationship. But this can go for any believers, especially too, just in a relationship. But we're talking about married entrepreneurs. So this really colors and covers, the marriage, and then how you do business together as well too. There's so many different things that he shared, so many nuggets. Another one he said is just choose your words carefully. Choose your words really carefully, because you can't not say them. You can't take them back. Okay, the U.
The U is for understand what you hear. Now, this is going to require listening more than talking, and a lot of patience to really make sure that you are understanding what is being said. And oftentimes when we don't do this, what happens is we end up responding ignorant of what the person is really trying to convey, because we didn't exercise the patience and really seek to understand. I want to say this too about understanding, seeking to understand, really making sure that we understand what we're hearing from our spouse requires humility. It's hard to be patient if you're not humble. When you're humble, you can be patient easier. So sometimes we think we can address patience without humility, but the truth is we really need to be humble to believe that the person has something that we need to really understand, not just what they said, but really need to understand what they are saying. And that takes time and humility and patience in order to do that. So understand what you hear.
And he really spoke on the heart issue behind that too. So when you're asking for understanding, I wanted like an example that he shared with us that you can do. You do this really, really well. And like we'll be in the middle. I'm in the middle of trying to explain something, and then he'll say, so what if I understand you correctly? You're saying, and he'll repeat it back to me. And I'll say, no, that's not what I said. Or maybe I said that, but I mean this, right? So then we're able to like kind of clear that out before we go to the next level of understanding. But the point of that is, yes, number one, understanding. But as you mentioned earlier, it has to be done in a heart of humility, because if not, the person that you're trying to say you understand or asking people know, like, if it's not done in the spirit of humility. And he gave a really quick biblical example between Mary and then Zacharias, how they both were questioning, how could this be? Like Zacharias was like, how can my wife Elizabeth be with child and based on her age? And then Mary's like, how can I be with child based on I've been with a man, but they were asking it the same question, but in two different ways from two different states of the heart.
Yeah. So one how can was to convey doubt.
Zacharias.
The other how can was really to say how.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Being that I know not a man.
And God responded differently to both of them with that same question, right? And
same word, different meaning.
He shut Zacharias' mouth so he couldn't speak any more doubt over that, what God was doing. So that it was so thick and so full. Okay, let's go to the next letter. N. Nourish with grace.
Nourish with grace.
Nourish with grace. Do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, we want to make sure that our words that we're speaking are extensions of grace. We want to make sure that our words are filled with grace. To be gracious, again, really derives out of a sincere desire to be reconciled, over really wanting to be right. So we want to make sure that our words are gracious.
And that just changed the heart and the spirit of the conversation. If you're not on the same page and you're not in agreement, it just changes the heart of even that disagreement, because you're both wanting to walk in grace and walk in grace with one another. And something what I was sharing with my girlfriend Jazzy on here, I was telling her, I was like, the first thing that the speaker said was, you know what, before we could even go into understand how to have powerful communication with your spouse and with each other, is you have to understand and remember that your spouse is also made in the image of God. Your spouse is also made in the image of God. And I was just like, you know what? I don't know if I told you, but I was like, you know what? He's right. My husband is made. And I had to look at him like, you're made in God's image. And I just think that's just my husband, but he's made in the image of God too. And not just everybody else out there.
Revelation.
And that makes a difference on how you communicate. Like, oh my goodness, you are made in the image of God. Let me make sure that I nourish my conversation with you with grace, because you're made in God's image, So I thought that was kind of funny when I was explaining it to her yesterday. And I was like, wait a minute, you are made in God's image. So, and sometimes we can like hear teachings, and then apply it to everybody else outside of your home, when we are to be the first partakers of that truth. Right. And then it is then shared with others outside the home. So that just kind of brought it home for me. I was like, oh, wow, that's so good. You are created in God's image. Okay. I initiate peace.
Yeah, that's a big one, because what that is to say is we don't wait for the other person to initiate peace. So both of us ought to be, using a colloquialism, breaking our necks to get to peace. We ought to be hurrying, rushing to initiate peace. It doesn't matter who was right or wrong in our perspective in order to initiate peace. The initiation of peace is on the responsibility of both husband and wife. So
good. Pure and peaceable, and we are to be peacemakers, not just with everybody else outside the house, but first and foremost with each other. Okay, so that is...
Yeah, blessed are the peacemakers. Yes, not blessed are the ones who didn't start it first.
Well, that's right. It doesn't say that. And okay, so C, the next C is...
Celebrate others. This is really, really important and powerful, in that a lot of times, if we're not doing those other things, by the way, we won't be celebrating our spouse. And we indeed need to celebrate our spouse. And one of the things he said about celebrate others, he backed into celebrate others by saying, don't cut down others. So I don't cut down my wife. And so to celebrate starts with me not cutting her down, but not just not cutting her down, then celebrating her.
That's so good. It just changes the conversation.
Yeah, and that celebration is, and he has it there on his paper, celebrate the grace that you're seeing. Because when one of the things, like, you'll say to me something that you would like to see me do, something that you would like to see me improve in.
Yeah.
And then at the first sign of that effort, you say, I see you. And even the acknowledgement of that is a celebration in itself.
I'll be like, I see you. Thank you. Like he just started the other day. I guess it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. I was like, can you just wash these dishes before we go to bed? 'Cause I really want to make sure. I mean, I could do it, but I'm just tired. I'm over here cooking. He was like, yeah, absolutely. He does it and got in there. And then I got up this morning and he was making this juice for us. And I did a carrot, apple, beets, whatever, all that great stuff. And then I come in the kitchen. Now it's the juicer, so there's going to be likely stuff in the sink. I come in there in the kitchen, and then I was just like, oh, there are no dishes. So he went ahead and washed. So he was like taking note of what I said the other day. And because I told him, I said, that just really helps me mentally when I see a clean sink. Like it just helps me like have an order for my day. It just helps me. It's just something that's small, but it's big for me. But I noticed that he started taking even more initiative than before to just wash those dishes. And it could just be a few or it could be a lot. And I would just started saying, you washing this? Thank you for washing the dishes. I see you. Like you did it without me even asking. You just went ahead and did that. And that told me that you were thinking of me based on the last conversation that we had about how I feel when the sink is clear of dishes. And he didn't have to do that. So I just say thank you again publicly.
Thank you.
Getting it done. So a way to celebrate. So I enjoy doing that because then it just creates an atmosphere of wanting to do more of it. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, the A in communicate is assume that you're wrong. Assume that you're wrong, which makes sense because going back to the U, until we truly understand what is being said and what we're hearing, it's better for us to assume that we're wrong because we may be drawing a conclusion without adequate understanding or sufficient details. So this is why we have to be humble in our listening so we don't make the assumption that we're right. And rather it's better to assume that we're wrong.
Even when you think you're right, even when you're like, I know I'm right in this. I know what I said. Or I know I put it there. I know. Still assume you're wrong.
Yeah. Until you talk and until you talk it through. You have to talk it through because you're drawing, again, we don't want to, and this is oftentimes what happens in the heat of the moment. We draw assumptive conclusions without really hearing it all. By the way, Proverbs says that it's foolish for a person to draw a conclusion without hearing the whole of the matter.
That's what it says. But yet here we are. We need to assume we're wrong. Okay. And now we're on T. Think the best.
I like that quote that he has there. Before you jump to think the worst, believe the best, judge kindly first. And when he talked about this, he really teased this out. And he was saying, this is not to promote naivete, but this is to say, think the best when you have the factors to think the best.
Yeah.
So in other words, I don't want to think the best about a charging pit bull coming after me. Oh, he's just coming to hug me.
Oh,
no, that's naive. I'm giving an extreme example, but you get my point. That's the point that Dr. Shorey was making. Think the best, especially when it comes to your spouse. I know that when she says something to me, or that when we're in the heat of a discussion, her basis is not to cut me. Her basis is not to cut me. I don't think that my wife intentionally means to do me harm, emotionally or otherwise. So I think the best.
Yeah.
Even in our discussions. Yes.
And that helps me. And it helps us. Real quick story recently happened. We were doing some moving for the church and stuff. And so I followed him in the car we drove in the car together. He went in to go get the moving truck. And then the moving truck was parked on the other side, but it was so cold outside. So there was like a sheet of ice over the windshield. And so he said, so I called him. I'm like, you good? He was like, no, they said, we're going to have to just wait a little bit until it defrosts. So, before we head over to the church and start, meeting the movers and all that. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm on the other side. I don't even see him. I'm in front of the U-Haul place, just chilling. Actually, I was like listening to one of my devotions. So I was just in my own world. And then I get a call from the administrator and saying, hi, are you okay? Your husband asked me to call you. This was like some time had passed. And I was thinking, man, it's taking a while for the ice to melt, but I'm okay. He said, just stay right there. So I just stood right, I was like, okay, cool. I'll just wait. And I didn't ask any questions. I just stayed in the car, did what I had to do. And so she calls me, some time goes by. I don't know how much time goes by, a lot of time, but And then she says, yeah, your husband asked me to give you a call. Are you okay? Are you like, where are you? And I was like, I'm where he told me to be. I'm in the car she was like, oh, he's here. And he thought that you were right behind him. And I was like, what? And so first thing is like, you mean to tell me my husband left me? Like, I felt kind of like
20 minutes ago.
Yeah, right. And so she's like, he's concerned about you and you're not here. And he thought that you were surely right behind him. I'm like, and I'm thinking, did he see me? How could he have thought that? And then first of all, he left me. Like, I'm just like so confused about what's going on. So then I had to calm down. This is before we went to this marriage conference. So I did have to calm myself down. I said, okay, Sway, calm down. You know your husband. Does his character say that he would just up and leave you and just be like, not say anything and just close. See you at the church and you just figure it out how you figure it out. You're going to get there how you get there. And I'm just like, that's not him. That's not him. And then I had to just say, you know what, Sway, to myself, I don't know what happened. I don't know where the miscommunication was, but I know that's not his heart. Now, I'm still a little I feel a little, put to the side just in my emotions about it. But the truth of the matter is something happened where he misunderstood. I misunderstood. Something happened. And here we are.
Truly miscommunication.
Truly miscommunication. So when he finally called after he was finished talking to the other people, I'm driving and he was like, I feel like trash. And I'm like, well, at least you feel like trash because I know that's your heart. It's not your heart to leave. You know what I mean? At least you feel like trash because if you didn't feel like trash, that would be another conversation. And we're like, why don't you feel like trash? And so, he's like, I feel like trash. And I said, at least you feel like trash. I understand something happened. But then I was like, well, what happened? How did we get to this place? How did you end up leaving me? He's like, I thought you said, I thought you were headed there. And I thought I was going to be right behind you. And then I realized you still weren't there. And I got concerned. I was like, yeah, no.
I thought in our phone conversation that I said, go ahead and I'll meet you there.
And I didn't hear that. I thought
somehow it came out and she thought
I said wait for me. He said, no, I thought you said wait right there. You see how that the lines of communication wait right there.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's how that kind of happened. But I was like, whatever. But I knew that his heart, I thought the best of him eventually. It wasn't like immediately like, I know he wouldn't have left me, but he did. So I'm like, well, what happened? But I had to get past that part to say, okay, I know my husband's heart and I know he's going to give me a ring as soon as he gets free. And then we'll talk about it then. So the great thing is that he did feel like trash, and I wasn't.
Give her a call. I've already given her a ring.
Okay, thanks. That was a neat.
I know he's going to buy me some jewelry. Make it all.
No,
And I would. I'm just.
I wasn't asking for any,
no,
anything.
You didn't. And I thought you handled it very, very well, actually.
That's
I was appreciative.
Appreciative of thinking the best. That's what I'm saying. It works both ways, y'all. It works both ways, and it really helps your marriage, and of course, it's gonna help your business as you're growing. Okay, so we are on the letter E. We're on the last letter of this whole word for 11 powerful tools for communication with your spouse as married entrepreneurs, especially. Okay, E. Drum roll.
Yeah, so the final letter in the word communicate, the E, it stands for examine your heart.
Whew.
And this is something that we must do continuously. Examine our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some great quotes here. Whatever controls our hearts exercises an inescapable influence in our lives by Paul Tripp. That's such a wise saying. He has a quote from John Calvin: the evil in our desires is most often not what we desire, but that we desire it too much. And so we have to always examine our hearts because those things, man, they have all kinds of things coming out of them. And out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. We want to examine it and deal with it at the heart level, because otherwise my communication towards my wife is not going to be godly. It's not going to be favorable. It's not going to be kind. It's not going to be gracious.
No.
I want to be all those things. And I want to also initiate peace. And it's so interesting because in the initiating of peace, what I believe will happen by wanting to initiate peace is there will be a introspection and examination of my own motives.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah, absolutely. There have been so many times when we are in a disagreement, or I just don't like something that he said. You probably don't even realize we're in a disagreement because I disagreed, but I didn't speak on it yet. And so I'm in my heart and I'm like, what am I going to say to let him know how much I disapprove of what he just said or how he said this? And then I have to ask myself, wait a minute, why am I upset about that for real? Like, what is it really like touching in my heart? Is it that he said that? Because that's true. So why is this a problem for me? And then a lot of times I come to realize it had nothing to do with what he said, but it was really exposing an issue in my heart that I didn't even know was there. And so then I'm like, oh my. And then I just like drop it. Like he doesn't even know that all that was going on. I had this whole kind of conversation inwardly. And then I'm like better once I realize, oh, I need to just humble myself. That's just what that is. That's just my flesh. That's just me wanting to let him know what you're not going to do, that type of stuff. And I'm like, calm it all the way down. So I just calm it all the way down because it doesn't even require any of that. And so one last quote here that the speaker gave was, and I thought this was really powerful. Whenever conflicts gets a start, check for the God that rules your heart.
Enough said.
Whatever idols in there, they will be exposed. And marriage is a great tool to expose those idols. And then don't talk about adding business to all of that too, and how you all work together or support one another and grow in your ideas. It's just a great tool to really work through the issues in the heart, ultimately, that we would be more fruitful in the things that God has called for us to do as married entrepreneurs.
One of the things I enjoyed about this so much, outside of the fact that it's packed with truth, is that it's really a system for thinking about communication. And I appreciate the systematic nature of it.
And just for those of you who may have missed it at the beginning, we were just sharing some really powerful tools on communicating with your spouse and others as well too, from a marriage conference that we recently attended. And the speaker was Dr. Timothy Shorey. He's also the author of...
he ain't asked to do this, but I'm just going to say, look.
Go get you one or two or three or four or five or 10 of them. The book that he wrote on communication is called Respect the Image. Remember when I got that reminder like, oh, wait, my husband, you are creating an image of God. That's right. I need to act like that. That happened and when he started talking about this. So it's a great book. And also, we just went through a lot. And what we've been doing on our date nights is actually kind of going through these again, just reminding ourselves, I need to put all this to memory with communicate. As I was sharing with my girlfriend Jazz yesterday, and I kind of butchered it. I just kind of stopped. I was like, I know C is calm down, which is chill out. And then O, open up. And then I totally forgot. I said, girl, I'll just send you the others. I'll just say, so I need to make sure I have these so I could get it off the tip of my tongue. Oh, sure. We'll hold it up again so you can screenshot it if you like. Get that. And then somebody also asked earlier, and I didn't get a chance to follow back up with her. Let me see. I think it was Jackie. If this is going to be, if we're going to, we're going to save the live. We are going to go ahead and save this live so you all can come back to it. So you can go back through because it's thick. And so in the book, he actually, each chapter is everything that we just talked about. 11 chapters on communication. And so the table of contents is actually communicate.
It's actually the acrostic.
It's actually the acronym that we just went over. So it's really good. And he goes in there too. Now, one of the things though, we like to say too, within how do you actually implement this and talk through it? What has worked really well for us is with our systems. If you all don't know, we are systems people, Marriedpreneur strategists. And as we mentioned earlier, the co-founders of the Marriedpreneur creators of the Marriedpreneur operating system. So one of the things that we do each week is we have our weekly meetings and then we have monthlies and daily legacy sessions. And this is like that's a great time that's already set aside to talk about what we're talking about, like how we're communicating. And so you need to have the time and the systems to actually follow up on it. Otherwise, you just kind of read it or just hear it.
It becomes a great experience, never to be revisited. And it never bears fruit in our life.
It's supposed to shape our lives. It's supposed to shape the heart and our conversation and our marriage and our business as well too. So I say all that to say we do have a packet. It's called the Marriedpreneur Operating. It's like a systems checklist and it's totally free. If you want that, let us know. I would say send us a DM for those of you who are on IG, because once we download this, I don't think we'll be able to see that. But just send us a DM, or if you put right here, I'll do a screenshot and just put systems, and then that way we'll in the comments you can put it. I'll try to. If the thing is, we just have to see it before we get off. That's all. So otherwise, if you're watching the replay, you can put it on the replay, put systems, and then we'll send you the Marriedpreneur operating systems checklist, so you can at least start getting your weekly overview. And we're coming to the end of the month, and so you also want to have like a monthly checklist, legacy checklist. So you can go through that and then start talking about these things as well too. Okay, I see you, Jazz. Okay, that I have. Oh, he brought his phone out, y'all. That's Jackson. Okay, we have some more coming in. He's we got to be real creative with this too. So hopefully you all have enjoy. Okay, Built to Rock event. Awesome, got you. We'll get that to you. So every Tuesday, just so you know, we come in and we do a legacy live. That is the goal, and we usually do it around noon EST. So we'll be sharing different golden nuggets and system strategies for faith-based married entrepreneurs who are launching, growing, building their businesses either together or supporting each other in that way, building the legacy together. So it's the same, it's the same household. So it impacts everything. Hopefully this has been helpful for you all. Until next time,
keep living
purposefully,
powerfully, and profitably insane.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know, because I just ended up saying that
the whole thing.
Got out of rhythm.
Oh no.
It's all good.
All right. Y'all have a good one. Peace out. Okay, bye-bye.